Hey, this is Shaun with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast powered by Go Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And if you're a fan of Bull Shark Sports, go to shop.letsgotennis.com. Get yourself a hoodie or a hat. And while you're there, check out the Atlanta Tennis Monsters collection exclusive at Go Tennis just in time for Halloween. Today, this is Youth Sports Talk with Coach Ben Hestley. Today's talk, we will discuss the target of perfection and aiming for 100%. Ben, you ready to talk youth sports?
Dive in, Shaun.
All right, today, Coach Ben wants you to not go for 100%. When we say things like that, it makes me think of stop keeping your eye on the ball, like some of those old school ideas. Wouldn't you think that 100% is a good thing? Ben, really?
Yeah, well, speaking of stop watching the ball, that latest podcast, 10 Minutes of Tennis, with Justin Yo was awesome. I really enjoyed it. So parents, coaches, players out there, if you're not on listening to 10 Minutes of Tennis, you need to be. Super good stuff that Shaun and Justin are putting together. So it only takes 10 minutes too. So we'll keep writing. We'll try to keep today's show pretty short. But yeah, I mean, most of the time, if you told your kid or you told a parent that their kid did 100% of anything, right? Hey, you scored 100%. Parents would be elated, right? Like, oh man, that's amazing, man, it's great, get 100%. But we're going to talk today why in sports in particular, why getting 100% of something is actually not a good thing. And it's kind of, for me, sort of, I thought about this a little more when I was listening to your podcast, Shaun, with Andy Durham of Racket Stats, one of the latest episodes you did on another shameless plug for the Atlanta Tennis Podcast. If you're not listening to that, you definitely should be. A lot of good stuff on Atlanta Tennis Podcast. In one of the recent episodes that you did, was talking about with Andy from Racket Stats, talking about stats, obviously, because he's a stats guy, and talking about serve percentage and what the ideal serve percentage should look like. And then, obviously, if you're serving 100% of the time, or if you're getting 100% of your serves in, why that's not a good thing, because probably your serve is pretty weak, or at least you have an opportunity to make your serve stronger or go for more on your serve. You're probably not getting the return on investment you should be if you're serving the ball in the court 100% of the time. And so just thought that would be a good talk for parents and maybe some coaches to hear us discuss and why 100% is not that good a thing. Because we all know the first thing parents do is they just tell the kid, hey, just get it in, right? Why is just get it in not a good thing?
Well, and if I compare it to baseball, we do a lot of tennis and baseball here. I compare it to baseball, and if I'm a pitcher that only throws strikes, I've got 100% strikes. I think I know the answer to this, but why is that a bad thing? I'm pretty sure there are going to be a lot of hits against me, right?
Yeah, that would be what we refer to as the BP for batting practice.
The batting practice
BP
pitching.
fastball. So if a kid's doing that, we're going, yeah, you're probably throwing BP fastballs, which means that meatball is coming over the plate and looks like a big watermelon to the hitter. And yeah, to your point, they're probably teeing off on that.
So in tennis, can we assume the same thing?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, if you're, especially nowadays, where the return of service is so good, with a lot of the pro players, even the junior players, return of service is so solid that if you just, float that ball in there, I mean, they're absolutely going to tee off on it, and then now you've taken what should be offensive situation. Now it's a defensive situation. And I talked to this a lot with adult players, and even you see it at lower levels. And so, like we've talked about in past shows, everything sort of filters down from the top, right? We watch the pro players play. What are the pros doing? And then we try to, filter that down, and then ends up in the youth level. And what often happens at the like beginner or like novice tournament player or novice competitor in tennis is the return of serve is actually the weapon, because the serve is not that good yet. And so the kid's just bumping the serve in so he can just get it in. And then the other kid's who's got pretty decent ground strokes probably is just absolutely teeing off. And so at the lower levels, we actually talk more about what I refer to as holding return more than holding serve. Everybody thinks they should be holding serve. Well, I mean, if you're playing at like a 2-5, 3-0 level, chances are the return of serve is going to be a lot stronger than the serve. So you shouldn't be upset if you lose your serve. You actually should be upset if you lose your return.
And we talk about the percentages, and I appreciate the conversation going back to the statistics, because if we look at the women's game on tour, with the numbers lean more toward there's less of that big serve weapon as often. It's not always the case, but often you have a closer to 50, a little bit more percent chance of winning that service point. So you have to treat it as, from a return point of view, as this is just as important, because I can't just come out and hold my serve like some of the men, just bang, 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 and the game's over. So from the junior standpoint, I remember working with some international level juniors back 20 years ago and watching this 13, 14, 15-year-old kid, and he didn't have the height. He didn't have the big serve yet. So the goal was kick serve. The goal was get it in, because then he just jumps into his ground strokes, which were unbelievably good at the time. But it wasn't like they could get the free point on the serve. So in this case, are we talking youth sports in the way that you're going to tell a 13-year-old baseball pitcher, every once in a while you're missing on purpose? I need that ball low and outside intentionally. Yes, he might swing and miss. No, it might just be a wasted pitch. In tennis, is there such a thing as a wasted serve?
Well, I don't know if it's wasted.
Similarly,
is you're going for it, right? I mean, you're always, let's get it, let's get one thing straight. I'm not in baseball. I'm not throwing balls on purpose, right? And in tennis, I'm not missing my serve on purpose. Okay. But what I am going to do is I'm going to sort of push the threshold of what I'm able to do as a player. And so in baseball, for example, if I can throw the ball routinely over the plate, right, just over the heart of the plate and get a strike every time, then I could, and it's the same thing in tennis. We can, if you're making your shot, you could add pace to that, or speed, right? So now I'm going to try to throw the ball faster and still try to get it over the plate as a baseball pitcher. As a server, I'm going to try to get my arm speed up or use my legs more, whatever. I'm basically going to try to hit the ball harder and see if I can still go in. I always like Ken DeHart's thing. He does the 1-2, level 1, level 2, level 3, and that's how he identifies adding pace to shots. And he talks about where level 1 is just get it in. Level 2 is like your medium kind of rally speed, pace, kind of what we in serving, maybe 70, 80% of your max. And then level 3, which is I've always found to be very beneficial to players, is how hard can you hit it without missing. And so, we're going to push that threshold with the pace, and then we might add location, right? So in tennis, I might try to serve the ball out wide or serve it to their backhand. In baseball, I might try to pitch it low and outside or pitch it inside. Just varying this. You can vary the speed. You add speed to it. You can add some location to it. And then of course we have spin as well, right? I mean, in baseball we have spin. We put spin on the ball. How can you spin it? In tennis we have top spin and slice as well. So those are three things basically you add as you get better is speed, spin, and location.
And if I'm looking at not aiming at 100%, I'm thinking of my free throws in basketball. I remember as a kid, missing a free throw was unacceptable. There's zero reason for it. You're standing there, you're not far away.
Yeah, you shouldn't you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't go like, hey, I've got a, saying my son throws 60% strikes. Oh, that's a good thing. Okay. All right. My child can serve 70% of their first serves in the tennis match. That's good. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's good. You can win a lot of matches. You can dominate a lot of matches with a 70% serve percentage. Basketball, though, you don't want a 70% free throw. So that is one area where you probably do want 100%. Because it's not like you're going to free throw, you're just shooting the free throw. You're trying to make the shot, right? What we're talking about is more, I'm trying to keep my opponent off balance. So let's think about where you're going to keep your opponent off balance. Baseball pitching, trying to keep the hitter off balance. Serving, keeping the return of server off balance.
So maybe what I'm realizing is, because I've watched pitchers throw a pitch toward a batter that has got no chance at being a strike. But the batter doesn't know that. He knows I've hit the outside corner a little bit, and that ball's going in, and then it dives down to the left. The pitcher knows it's not going to be a strike. The catcher knows it's not going to be a strike. But the batter's going, oh no, is it the slider or is it that fastball on the outside edge? The goal there, I think, is maybe like my serve. Let's say I'm hitting the slider out wide and I'm going at your strength. And I'd rather miss it than let you hit it. So if it goes in, it's going to be so good and so much on that edge. I'd rather miss it than you get it back. Is that a little bit of the idea of kind of a good miss, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with a tennis serve, let's say, I'm a lefty, right? On the ad court, my bread and butter serve is I'm trying to slice that ball out wide and put you into the fence. Okay. I'm willing to miss that serve because if I make that serve, I'm going to win the point. In my world, I'm winning that point 8 out of 10 times. Okay. If I don't go for that and I serve it more, like I just want to get the serve in and I just kick it down the middle, he's gonna step, or get it solo up backhand, or he step. What often happens against me is they step around it and smack a forehand. Okay, pretty much anywhere they want to go. So I will leverage only making my slice out wide serve 60%, 70% of the time to win 80% of those points. Right. In tennis, you don't have to, there's so many points and you don't have to win every point in tennis. Right.
Maybe that's the uniqueness of tennis. In baseball, the same thing. I don't have to get every batter out.
You don't have to win every pitch. I mean, honestly, you want your, somebody says to me, what's the ideal strike percentage for a pitcher? Well, it's got to be high. It's got to be high enough where I don't walk the guy. Okay. But low enough to where I keep him off balance.
Right. To where I'm not the batting practice pitcher.
And all you're trying to do, and the first thing we honestly do with pitchers, at least I do with pitchers, is change the speed, right? And that's why the change up pitch comes into play. Because, like you just said, if I'm sitting here looking and I'm expecting you to throw the ball 80 miles an hour, and all of a sudden it comes out of your hand, and I go to swing, I'm like, oh crap, it's actually 60 miles an hour, and I'm way out in front of it. We forget about that, I think one of the best pitchers ever is Greg Maddux, and his. He had an art of keeping his pitch counts really low, but he also could keep guys off balance, and he wasn't afraid to throw something that they might get hit, because oftentimes the slower pitch is what trips the person up,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think now to soccer is one of my last example question, and the penalty kick, and I think that should be a target of 100%. And I played at elite level as a kid. And I think of the idea that I had 100% penalty kick success rate except one, and it was a high profile miss. And then I think back and I think, what was I doing at the time, and the adrenaline and all that. But in that case, like baseball, I can throw 100% strikes, but that's not necessarily a good thing, because then you can hit 100% hits, or whatever that's called, right? In soccer, if I've got that penalty kick and I've got the option to be able to put the ball wherever I want, there is the small chance that the goalkeeper guesses right and happens to get a finger on it, even if I hit it perfect. There is a chance someone stops that. But for me to miss the target in that case, I think it needs to be 100% on target in my case. That one might be where 100% on target is good from a shot point of view. But even if I extend my question, I'm sorry, my long rambling questions, I realized also at some point that if I don't kick the ball as hard as I can, the goalkeeper is going to have no problem with it. So it's possible that ball is going to go flying off. You watch soccer matches and the guy kicks the ball and it's just way off into the stands. You're like, what was he thinking?
How do you do that, right? How do you miss? The goal's massive.
Right.
But I would argue that he's probably not aiming for the goal, right? I always think of long ago with Mel, long ago, is his name. So, remember the movie with Mel Gibson, The Patriot?
Yeah.
You remember that? It was about the American Revolution, and he had a saying in there. He was teaching his kids how to shoot, and he would say, "Aim small, miss small." That was his thing.
Small, miss small.
And so he's right. If you go out there and you aim for like the massive goal, all right, it's actually easy to miss it. Mm-hmm. Funny enough. But if you have a specific target in mind, and I imagine in your case in soccer, I imagine we're watching the pro level guy, the MLS guys, they're probably not aiming for the goal. They're aiming for a specific spot in the goal. Right? I see a lot of
serve the same way for tennis.
Serve is the same way. I'm not just trying to get in this massive box, And in tennis is a little different because, in Jorge Cabasani talks a lot about this. It's not just where the serve lands; it's where the serve is going. Because I'm not too concerned about where my serve lands so much is the spin and direction I'm trying to put on that ball to move my opponent the way I want them to be moved, so that I can set up, either I win it on that point or I set up and open the court up for the next shot.
So maybe that example, aim small, miss small, could be the answer to the question we're asking today. Is you're gonna miss. There's no such thing as perfection in sports.
If you're not missing, then you're, and this is, let's take it to the training environment. We talked a lot about the competition environment. Let's take it to the training environment where we prepare for these competitions. If you're not missing in practice, your practice isn't hard enough.
You're not taking up risk.
And that's what happens a lot is we want these perfectly choreographed, I always call like choreographed drills. Like, oh, they look amazing. And mom and dad show up there. Oh my God, look, he looks fantastic. He's making every ball, And then you're over there going, I had kids yesterday, I was sweating bullets, man. Mom and dad are watching. The girl couldn't make a serve to save her life, man. That ball toss is going everywhere, all over the place, right? And it's just but it's so challenging for these kids. We have to understand that missing is fine. Yeah. And we want misses because if you never miss, you're not going for enough, plain and simple. And I think that's just the whole point of today's talk is if you're never missing, you're simply not going for enough.
There we go. Did we answer the question with that?
I think we did.
Done. I like it. Ben Hestley, right. Thank you so much. This has been Youth Sports Talk. We'll see you next week. Thank you, sir.
Bye, guys. Check out that Atlanta Tennis podcast. It's fantastic.